I just want to be myself and respected. That's what we found here.
Hey Gen Xers, I don't know if you know this, but Mexico is a pretty Catholic country. I am setting out in this video to figure out if the Mexican style of Catholicism is a very accepting society or a very judgy society. Really, I want to answer the question, what's it like to be gay in Mexico? So I am going to be interviewing a gay couple and asking what their experience has been, both up in the United States and down here in Mexico. So I'm very excited. We're in Ajijic, and I am here in Ean and Kristi's living room, and I'm going to have both of them kind of tell the story back in the States, starting out at childhood and bringing us up to speed before they moved to Mexico, what their experience has been.
Hi, I'm Ian, and I was raised in an extreme fundamentalist Christian home, very right-wing. My whole childhood, I dreamed of being a boy. I loved girls, and I also knew that I could never tell anyone, ever. I sat on that through Christian elementary school, Christian boarding school for high school, Christian college. So I ended up at Oglethorpe University, and at one point I asked a bartender where a gay bar might be so I could interview some homosexuals. I didn't have the stones to say, hey, I'm feeling it. Can you tell me where to go? But I ended up at a gay bar, and through just walking through the doors, I realized I was home. I was among my people. And I was so excited. The next day at dinner, I told my parents I had finally figured out what was up with me. I'm gay. And I'll never forget, my father put his hands flat down on the table, and he said, you will not participate in that lifestyle and put your feet under this table. I went right upstairs and I packed my bags, I got into my car, and I left. And in that moment, I was homeless. I went to the only place I felt safe at the moment, which was one of the gay bars that I had gone to. And I told my new friend what had happened. The first thing was that I was taken, actually they took me to an apartment that was below the bar, and there were a bunch of lost homosexuals down there, mostly lesbians, and I was one of them. That was kind of my rocky start. Fast forwarding, I ended up with a pretty good job with a pretty conservative company. Eventually they found out that I was gay, and I was no longer employed. That was a blow. I wasn't expecting that kind of thing, and I just didn't know that would happen. Then I ended up with a job with a gay law firm, Gannick and Wright. Jeff Gannick and Bill Wright rescued me. They saved me. They groomed me as a professional. They took me as a complete piece of putty, and they formed me into a very competent professional businesswoman. When I had exceeded what they could offer me, they helped me open my mortgage company. And I had a lesbian mortgage company. Very successful, enjoyed it, wonderful career.
That's where my story starts, working for a conservative company. But to go back, my father was gay, and all of the kids were very accepting of it. I always felt very progressive about it. Had a gay best friend, but until I met Ian, I didn't really click truly that you can just love someone for who they are, for their soul, despite their gender. I was married to a man when we met. We were separating and getting divorced. Meanwhile, I was working at a very conservative Christian company and basically had no close relationships with anyone because I could not talk about my life. After we met, I continued working at this company for 11 years, and I couldn't go to any company parties, or if I did, I had to go by myself. I had to hide. I couldn't say what my weekend was like, because it involved my partner. I was absolutely a different person there, having to be in the closet the whole 11 years that we were together while I still worked there.
We were on this cruise. We do a lot of cruises. And, we were being ourselves. We're being accepted by other people, being respected, laughing, having a good time, getting to know one another, just enjoying being ourselves. And a cruise ended on a Sunday. And by Wednesday, Kristi started getting more and more tense and started talking about how much she dreaded going back to work. And I was like, hey, you've got this under control. You can handle this. Because my job is to cheer you on and keep you in the game. And so for 4 days, I wasn't listening. And I wasn't hearing her. And her tension got greater and greater. And we were walking to our car from the airport, headed home. And I stopped literally halfway to our car. And I said, honey, I want you to quit your job. Let's move to Mexico. And she looked at me and said, okay. And that was when we decided no more. We want to live free, be ourselves, and just, I don't care if I have to just mind my own business. I just want to be myself and respect it. And that's what we found here.
So I don't know about you, but I am actually tearing up from hearing that story of how special it is when your partner realizes and supports you. But let's continue the story because we're coming closer and closer to Mexico, and then we're going to hear about what it's like down here.
10 days later, I put in my notice at work.
She quit her job. I'd been doing a lot of research, and I'd already identified the absolute perfect place for me to be. It's National Geographic's perfect climate, and that's Ajijic. So I bought the plane tickets, booked a bed and breakfast for a few weeks. We came down, I made appointments with a realtor. We came down, immediately hit the ground running, looking at properties, getting to know the city, and that's how we ended up here.
So I do want to talk about the place that we're sitting in right now and all the details of that. But let's get into a little bit of that, what it's like to be here in Mexico as a gay couple. What does that feel like?
There's a freedom for me just being outside of, first of all, the company I worked for, second of all, the United States. I feel free to be myself, to figure out exactly who I am, away from the judgment and the hate, the overt judgment and hate. Because here, they may not be welcoming you with open arms, but they aren't spouting hate at your face either.
Mm-hmm. I kind of experience it as a people who are less interested in my business. They are polite and kind. In fact, they're generous. I've never been exposed to more polite people. They're nice in their car. I think that says plenty. They are nice in their car. We have just been treated with respect everywhere we've gone. I haven't gotten one sideways look, and come on, I don't fit the mold. I love that. I've never felt more welcome anywhere. So in addition to the city really turning me on, I mean, it's artistic, it's beautiful, it's vibrant, it's filled with music and art. The people are kind. Our new best friends are a straight couple. It's so normal. We really feel like we belong here.
Yeah, there really is an acceptance in Mexican culture of everyone else. There's not this need to control other people or to judge other people. There's just everyone feels it's not their business what other people are doing. And no one wants to force their views on someone else. So the key here is this video really is for people who are foreigners moving to Mexico. And I do want to make a quick distinction because this is someone mentioned last night at a nice happy hour that we had with Truly Remarkable Life. You got to check out their channel if you haven't already. But there was another couple talking about how it's maybe a little bit different than being in a super progressive society like, maybe West Coast of the United States, where if your own child was gay, it might be a little bit of a different situation because that's part of their family. I just want to point that out because it is a little bit of a distinction that's important, is accepting of other people the way they are, but there's still some of those Catholic values within the family. So, and that's not what this channel's about. So, but that distinction is important.
One of the first things I noticed when we arrived in Mexico at the airport was how polite and generous the employees were. They didn't act like they were busy. They jumped to help us. I'm slightly handicapped, and they swarmed around me to help me. When we arrived in Ajijic, what I noticed just walking down the street, everyone you pass stops and says, "Buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches." They always speak. And I don't know a lot of Spanish, but I know how to be polite. And you get in this habit of acknowledging other people. For the first time in ages, I have gotten into the habit of acknowledging every human being I pass, seeing every dog I pass on the street. Kids, come on. I'm talking about other children, and they're jealous. I think what stands out to me is how very gracious and generous these people are. They're polite in their cars. Honestly, you stop at a four-way intersection, there are no stop signs. Everybody stops, and they all motion for you to go. It takes a minute because somebody's got to actually go. This is how polite they are. What it does is inspires me to mirror that graciousness, mirror that kindness. And I have felt a joy within myself that I haven't felt in maybe my whole life. I've told you more than once. I think I'm the happiest I've ever been. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I am grateful to be in Mexico. I'm grateful to be treated like a human being, not like a homosexual, not like a fat person, not like a bulldog, not like a tomboy, but just a human being. It's new and it's emotional. It's a moving thing to be in a place where you are simply treated as another life, another precious life.
That was so wonderful. This is a great time to transition into some more of the just standard stuff. Let's talk about the place that we're sitting, the apartment, a little bit about it, what they're paying for it, and how they found it.
Well, we're in Ajijic Central, which is the city or the village itself. Actually, we're just a block away from the lake. We worked with a realtor who showed us umpteen properties. May I give her name?
Sure.
Her name is Marianella Contreras. She owns Paradise Ajijic Realty. She spent so much time with us, never got frustrated, and we would go see a property, another property, Then we got to this property, and it's bigger than we were expecting. It's a 3-bedroom condominium with 3.5 baths. So we can definitely entertain people. It's got a little courtyard and a neat balcony on the second floor, and then terrazza. Is that what they call the roof? Terrazza? And that has a view of the lake. So it's really got a lot of pluses. Plus, it's a gated community, and Kristi felt safe. We are in a new country, a new place. We didn't know. We do feel very safe, even if it didn't have a gate. The rent here is $1,400 US, and that sounds really high, but it includes the gardener, it includes the maid, it includes Wi-Fi, electricity, water, HOA fees. It really is an all-inclusive. All we had to do was bring our clothes and go to the grocery store. So it is a pretty sweet deal. I know it feels expensive when you just say $1,400, but when you realize you're not writing a check for all that other stuff, it actually pans out to be a fairly good deal, fair deal.
Yeah, you said it was a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, or 3.5. Yeah,
Right.
that's a good deal.
Yeah. I mean, if we wanted to share it with someone else, we certainly could.
So I'm going to ask if these guys have any final thoughts before we wrap up the video.
I've really think that this is a judgment-free zone here in Mexico. These people are just busy loving on each other. They say hello. If you're stuck in your judgment and condemnation, this is probably not a good fit for you. I know a good fit for you, and it's the U.S.
Yes, I mean, that's why a lot of people are leaving the U.S. now, is because it's become such a divisive place and such a place of judgment and putting other people down. And if you're just looking for a cheap place to live, yeah, Mexico is cheaper for the most part, but the culture is nothing like what's happening in the United States right now. So what I want you to do is check out some of these other videos with other expats that I've got on my channel, because you're going to get a feel for the type of people that do really well in Mexico. You won't get a feel for the people who don't, because I don't have any videos of them. So check out those videos, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Hasta luego.